So Aston Martin comes out of the gate 2023 season with a bang. Previously nicknamed the Green Bull. And why was this? Because they literally copied Red Bull's design. And I know many people today are saying, show me where you see any part of Red Bull. Well, you'd have to go to the 2022 season, not the 2023 season. This is where I'm saying that it's probably no longer correct to call the Aston Martin the Green Bull, as many more should probably call it the Alpine Rari. Can that be a thing? Like, should it be Ferrari Pine? Because Ferrari technically is Formula One's love. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. It's no longer the Green Bull. Alpine have taken pages out of other teams' books and changed their overall look. And right now it's looking like that change might very well be the secret ingredient that is separating Aston Martin from Mercedes, although they use several different parts from the Mercedes and the power unit to where their race pace is not like Mercedes. But then again, when they copied the Red Bull, their pace wasn't the same either. But this time it's better. Their pace is, well, they did a better job. But anyway, if cheating is trying, then copying must be competing, because this team, a long time since before the Aston Martin deemed the green cloth, when it was a pink cloth, they copied Mercedes, matter of fact, all right? So if we look back at all the times that Aston Martin, and before they were Aston Martin, they were, Racing Point. Well, matter of fact, I'll tell you what, let's tell you what they were before they were what they are today. And that may give you some context about the lineage of this team. So before Aston Martin was Aston Martin, they were Racing Point, and then from Racing Point, they were Force India, and then going further back, they were Spiker, and before that, they were Midland, and before that, they were Team Jordan. So yes, this team has gone through several phases of changing their cloth, but it wasn't until Racing Point, purchased by Lawrence Stroll, and before then, there was some things that happened, but I won't go into that because it was quite messy. I might do another video on that. But anyway, going forward, Lance Stroll, Racing Point, then soon deemed Tracing Point, because they copied the Mercedes championship car from 2019, where they then placed 7th. And then in 2020, when they copied this car, they placed 4th. So it does show that copying does lead to better results. Okay. But then moving up further, 2022, 7th again. Then they copy the Green Bull. Doesn't work out so much. Now they take pages out of Ferrari and Alpine's book. And this is where now they come out in 2nd, but it's only one race in the season. So it doesn't mean that it'll stay this way. But I do have to say, all throughout testing, free practice, and qualifying, and even the race finish in Bahrain show that Aston Martin have done considerable jobs upgrading their packages and then improved pace. All right, so let's look at some of these cars. Before, if you compare it to Aston Martin when it first was launched, it was one of 3 cars that we saw that we definitely knew that were different amongst the grid. Those 3 cars would be the W13, the F175 Ferrari, and of course the Aston Martin AMR 22. I mean, it literally had one of those designs along with that green that stuck out. There were some similarities to the Ferrari as far as the gaping gills or louver vents that you could see in the car, but overall the side pod package was different. It was more mush, flat and wide, whereas Ferrari had a very deep gouge in their downwash channels, and their side pods had shoulders on them and more flat along the sides. Then you came to Mercedes with the W13. Everybody said no side pods, but evidently there's a side pod there. So stop calling it the zero side pod concept. It's a slim down side pod. You get me? Now listen, Mercedes definitely isn't the team to copy right now, as they are still even having a reduced amount of progress in their W14 revision, but we're waiting to see what they'll bring in the upcoming races as far as their packages. And it is even said that they are scheduled in the 6th round to bring an updated package that should turn things over. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. We'll see. But back to Alpine and back to Ferrari, because this is where Aston Martin take pages out of different books besides from Red Bull Racing. But like I said, as you looked at the RB18 and the AMR 22, when they went through their extreme upgrade package, they did look very similar, if not almost pretty much the same. Very small, but yeah, it's there. That's why they got called the Green Bull. All of that stuff is funny, but literally Aston Martin is doing a good job at copying other team concepts and then producing cars that are making good pace. Although they have that setback season, they then have a season that trampolines them up into the rankings. 7th to 4th, but now 7th to 2nd. That's a monumental jump. So let's take a closer look at where Alpine and Ferrari play a part, to me, in Aston Martin's design. So if you look at the Aston Martin side pods now, more flat along the side with that undercut, which looks more like the Ferrari design. But as you come to the top portion of the side pod and get a top view, this portion comes from Alpine. But of course, I believe that this Alpine portion, which has a deep gouge or a channel in the downwash section of the side pod, still is a bite out of Ferrari's book. It's just that Alpine implemented it a bit different than Ferrari did. Ferrari's channel is more curvaceous and kind of comes back and out. Alpine's channel kind of goes down, in, and out towards the back. And this is where Aston Martin takes a note from both cars. And this has been successful for them, I believe. Not only that, but I do think some other things lead to success that Aston Martin didn't get credit for. What the hell could they have gotten credit for, Wolfpack? Not only were they Tracing Point, not only were they the pink Mercedes, the green bull, but now you're telling us that they're Ferrari Peen? Can I still make that a name, Ferrari Peen, or should it be Peen Ferrari? I don't know, you decide. But yes, I'm telling you that they definitely did something where they should have got credit for, that Ferrari actually got majority of the notable for. It was a wing that they added to the T-Trace section of the floor on the Aston Martin. Ferrari noticed this development. They took it and added it to their car, and then they got more recognition for it. But Aston Martin actually developed it. So there's one thing that Aston Martin did that somebody else copied, but they didn't. But it does. Good credit to Aston Martin. But why couldn't Aston Martin get this right for Seb? Seb deserved that. You did him wrong, but Seb, you're retired. I hope you're enjoying retirement. We don't know, we might see him back. Anyway, as you even saw, Alpine's A522 went through some changes in 2022 as they launched a car that did not look like the car they ended up with at the end of the season. At the end of the season, they ended up with a car that started taking on concepts like Ferraris, which is why I say they pretty much took a page out of Ferrari and Alpine's book, but inevitably, it's kind of Ferrari's input that led to all of this, okay, having the deep channels on the side pod. So as you saw that evolution in 2022, now Alpine with the A523 in 2023 have decided to take that concept a bit further. As you look at the comparison photos between 2022 and 2023, that channel definitely got a little bit more pronounced in the way that it goes into that side pod. So Alpine definitely felt confident with this design and decided to enhance and elaborate on it. Meanwhile, Aston Martin, taking notice of this, decided to do the same, and now they are seeing increased race pace. But as it's worth mentioning, let's not forget that Alpine also had the explosive side pods that literally combusted on the track, leaving FOD everywhere, so they did have some growing pains there. So yes, now the AMR 23 is a composition of multiple cars throughout the grid, and fortunately for Aston Martin, it seems that they would have taken the best parts of those concepts, found a way to implement those concepts mixed with their concepts in a very productive way, and now Lance and Alonso have a car that are propelling them to the top 10, and Alonso on podium on the first race of 2023. So let me know what you think about Aston Martin as far as their copying ways, their tracing ways, but implementing things in their way mixed with other people's ways and being very successful at that. And what do you think other teams should do like Mercedes? Because Mercedes sells Aston Martins. They got suspension parts from Mercedes. They got the power unit from Mercedes. Maybe there are some things Mercedes to take a note from, but maybe Mercedes, like Ferrari, will get their concept right, and then other teams may start taking pages out of Mercedes's book, but it's not looking likely right now. We'll have to wait and see. So that's what we got. Aston Martin, who was the green bull, who then was the pink Mercedes, who then was the Tracing Point, and other things are competitive now, and that's what really matters. So big shout out to Aston Martin for making upgrades that put them up there, because I think us as spectators, we want to see a multi-team and multi-driver battle, and Aston Martin has been part of giving us that in 2023. So hopefully Ferrari, Mercedes, Aston Martin, Red Bull, already a very strong car, all get it together, and we can see these teams battle it out for the 2023 and not know going into a race weekend who's going to come out with that race win or even who will be on the podium. Thanks for watching another episode of Wolfpack Performance. Don't forget to check out some of my other content on Formula One and motorsports topics. Like, share, subscribe, and we go live on the weekends. See you soon.